Alright, Kyle here with another MMA taekwondo self-defense video. In this one I'm going to go over the proper way to punch. With that being said, this is a fighting stance. Okay, right in here. Legs apart, front foot pointing forward. Okay. Now, proper way to punch. Just get your hands up. Punch. Looks easy, right? Yeah, there's a couple steps. First, if you have your arm cocked back, it's going to do more damage. Now, right in here, if you cock it back and come forward. So, keep your punching hand loose. Bruce Lee once said, loose like water, because when water comes in, just like the tide, it might come across like it's loose, but as soon as it hits something, that water moves, whatever it does. I mean, floods, they knock out entire towns. So keep your hand loose like water, and then right as you make contact is when you tighten up. A lot of people start with their fists all tight and they're like, oh, I'm gonna hit you. They don't realize that the tension they're putting in their hand right here is actually wearing out their forearms and actually gonna make their punches weaker the more they throw. So with that being said, you gotta learn to keep your hands kind of open. And when you punch, that's when you tighten. Bam, bam, bam. And your hands are always loose. Look at my hands. You see that? They're in a punching type position, almost ready, but they're still open. And the reason that we leave them open and then we tighten them at the last second is when we clench these fists, it makes your hands way harder. If you hear that, that's the damn ground I'm hitting with my knuckles. Okay? Okay, that's another thing I suggest. Get a phone book, punch a phone book. Punch a phone book. Once a phone book's easy, get a thick ass, I don't know, magazine that's a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit tougher, then move on to a hardback book. Punch it every day. Every day. It's called ossification. You see how stinking thick that knuckle is? You see that? That's ossification. I have punched things so many times that small fractures develop in your bones. This is the process of ossification. So you get these small little fractures, and then when your body heals, they fill in those fractures. And then over time, if you do this over time, you will fill in all the little cracks with more bone, making your hands denser and thicker. It's why monks have incredible feats of strength. It's because they understand how the body heals. And they understand that, oh, if I do this 1,000,000 times, all of a sudden my hands are rocks. It's not rocket science. Like, that's the way the human body works. That being said, if you hit this as hard as you can and fracture this bone, that's not going to make your hand super strong. Like, that's not how this works. It's small fractures over a period of time creates the ossification and the density increase in your bones. You can do this with any bone on your body. Your forehead, I mean, technically your shoulder bones, your arms, your hands. I've done this a lot with my hands, a little bit with my forehead, a lot with my knee joint, my shins, and my feet. My shins, very specifically, I'll take like a paint, you know those paint stirrers? I'll take a few of those, I'll tape them together, just pop, 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 pop. Okay, your leg will go numb, pop, 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 your hand will go numb. But you do that for a few weeks and you'll start to notice you can do it more. And then you'll start to notice that your hands are getting thicker, and then you'll start to notice that you might actually break the paint things. And with that being said, that is the whole basics of why in Taekwondo they break bricks, they break boards for demonstrations, is to demonstrate that they've worked on that ossification. I know most of the time they don't explain that. They're just like, oh, I'm awesome. Oh, I'm so cool. And it's like, well, how did you get to the point where you did that? And they want you to take their class and pay them lots of money to tell you, hey, you've got to do this 1,000 times before you can do that. So pay me 1,000 times so that you can do that eventually. And it's kind of the whole scam with the I don't say the taekwondo industry, but with kind of the MMA fighting industry, there are people who take advantage of that, and they're not in it to teach the art. They're in it to get you to pay them $100 a month so that they can tell you that you need to keep doing that. Punching a board, punching a bag. It's the easiest way to get stronger. Just hit something. If you got a hardwood floor like this, see, it doesn't really hurt my hand. I'm not hitting it hard enough to break anything. But if I do this for 1 solid minute, my hand's gonna go numb, and it's gonna have so many tiny fractures in here that I take off for 2 days, I let my hands heal, and I come back and my hands are like rocks. It's an amazing process. Okay, that being said, you gotta put in the time. Rome was not built in a day. Your body will not just magically, you watch this video and you wake up tomorrow and you punch the ground for 2 minutes straight, and all of a sudden you walk up to the biggest guy you've ever seen and you're like, I can take you out, homie. It doesn't work like that, like at all. So, more power to you if you think that's a good idea. But if you're here, it's because you want to learn, either for self-defense purposes or because you want to get in the ring. And for those of you wanting to get in the ring, you should be working on the ossification of your bones, like yesterday. So go hit a bag, go find a soft tree and hit it. And yeah, you're gonna be sore and you're gonna hit it a little hard every now and then and you're gonna hurt yourself. And guess what? Your body's gonna get stronger. So, do that. Sorry, I thought I heard something. That being said, punch, punch, punch. I'm twisting my arm into it, boom. Hands loose, tightening at the end, kind of leaning into it a little bit. But if you notice, if you really want to hit somebody hard, there's a small twist in that back foot. If you ever notice a strong boxer when he goes in with that right hook, twist that foot up a little bit. Those hooks have twists. If you're throwing a hook, you're kind of twisting a little bit with that hip. The hips drive so much strength throughout your body. Everything's connected to your vertebrae is connected to your hip. So thrusting those hips will get you extra power. Okay? Now, a straightforward jab is in here. Okay? Jab, 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 jab. 1-2 is a jab, and the straight punch with your strong arm. Okay? This is with my left hand leading. This is with my right hand leading. Jab, jab, boom. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Okay? Next, after you get comfortable throwing a 1-2, just throwing them straight. You want to throw, and here's the thing, I know where my hand is going. I'm not just flailing it out there. Okay? My hand is going where I want it to go. Okay, boom, 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 boom. If I change target, boom, 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 boom. You want to know where these two knuckles are going. Not these two. You don't want to hit somebody with these two. It hurts. These two. Okay, so know where those knuckles are. Okay? Conor McGregor, he throws a wicked crazy underhand jab punch. Looks weird, but it catches people off guard. So practice it. Boom. It's just a twisting kind of jab punch. And when people, they don't see it because they see your hand go this way, they think you're going this direction. When it comes back, they're usually leaning in and they're like, oh, where'd that fist come from? So, just get in here. Punch, punch, punch. If you got a punching bag, hit it. Hit that thing as many times as you can. Because right now, I'm going to tell you right now, it takes 100 hours to be decent at this. It takes 1,000 to be better than decent. It takes 10,000 to say that you can master it. Okay? So just punch, 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 punch. Mix it up. Get in that place where you're punching different angles. See, if you notice my hands going to different spots, I'm hitting different spots in the body. This one's in this area. This one is in this area. This one is in this area. This one is in this area. So just go around aiming for different spots. If you have a partner, partner up. Another thing, if you breathe out when you punch, you will get more power. So, I blow. I was trained in taekwondo to go, ha! It's loud, gets people's attention, sure. Is it effective? Hell yeah, it's effective. I'm breathing out every time. It's a little excessive though. I have found personally that just is a little more efficient for me. But if you're training, you really want to go for it. Okay. Next thing you need to know about a punch is after you punch, you bring it back here. There's two reasons that you bring it back under your armpit. One, being that you might want to throw another punch and you need all of this tension and all this muscle, the tendons, to tighten back up so that you have power. Because anyone who studied physics, you need the energy stored to release. And if you have no energy stored, say your arm's out here, like that's hard to get a lot of power. There's not a lot of energy here. So deriving power is a little more difficult. Sure, Bruce Lee could do a 2-inch punch, but he had trained for years and years and years and years, and he had the ability to store that energy without necessarily being in the proper position to get the energy stored. He had figured out how to store all that kinetic energy right here. It's amazing. If you get a chance, read his book, Jeet Kune Do. It's one of the greatest reads you'll ever have. As somebody who's into fitness and MMA and taekwondo, it's the greatest book. I should say one of the greatest books. But, so after you punch, you bring it back to store the kinetic energy. And then, so you can release it again. You bring it back here. Boom! Boom! It's also, you bring it back here because this is a good defensive position. Look, I punch. If I leave it out there, I'm open. So I get my hand back, I can protect myself again because I want everything in front of me. I want to know where it is. I want to be able to protect myself. So I punch, I get back here to protect myself. I punch, I get back here to protect myself. I punch 1, 2, 1, 2, I get back here to protect myself. I punch 3, 1, 2, 3, I get back here to protect myself. I punch 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you see, I threw a duck in there. If you're training for boxing, you're going to want to do that all the time with your upper body. 1, 2, duck. 1, 2, 3, duck. So, I can't say his name. Kolskinski or whatever. The reason he is an amazing boxer and does not lose, he moves around punches. It's a slow motion version of what he does, but throw him in there. Boom. If you're training by yourself, you need to use your imagination and pretend there is a dude right here trying to kick your ass. Okay, so use some imagination and just Okay, if you're a righty, best thing I can advise you on, right hand. If you're just now learning this, obviously stay with your right hand for the most part, but force yourself to switch. Force yourself to get in that southpaw position and throw punches out of the southpaw. It might be awkward at first, but after you do it for a few sessions, you'll start to notice it's a lot easier, and it's really not a lot different than regular stance. Southpaw is not that much different. It's the same positioning, your arms are doing the same thing. It's more of a mental thing that you have to be able to turn off the fact that you went southpaw. Because true, great MMA fighters could care less. They don't care if you're standing like this, they don't care if you're standing like this. All they know is they need to take you down, and they left, right, up, down, who cares? Okay, with that being said, some things you can do to train for punching that we haven't discussed are push-ups. Anything to do with bench press, incline bench press, dumbbell bench press. Dumbbell bench press especially helps with punching power and strength. I would recommend doing the dumbbell anytime you do chest, upper body, arms, throw in a session of those dumbbells if you want to increase your punching power. I personally have access to a bunch of machines, so it's pretty cool. I've also already done 1,000,000 push-ups, so my punching power, it's there. But velocity, just like Bruce Lee was teaching, is almost greater than punching strength. Because yeah, if I'm super strong, that's great and dandy, but if I can punch a little faster, it gets to the target, it'll hurt. You can use weights to punch. I would not do anything heavy. I personally punch with 10 to 15 pounds in my hand. 20 seems to stretch my shoulder a little bit more than I feel comfortable, but it's just a stretch. It's a thing with an old injury right here. So I don't really go to 20 pounds when I'm punching. I usually stay around 10. But do as much as you can, because you'll notice that when you do the weighted punches, sorry about that. But you'll notice when you do the weighted punches that it's a little weird. Yeah, it takes a little getting used to. Especially in your wrist, because they're not going to be used to that weight. It's out here that the weight gets janky, okay? Because it's kind of like one of these, but it's from here. Okay, I suggest starting off at a low weight until you get comfortable, until you strengthen this tendon right here, specifically this one, okay, that is connecting down in here. There's a tendon in here that if you try to do this punching with too much weight, you're gonna stretch that more than you want to, and it's gonna flare up and it's gonna hurt. And I know this from experience, because I tried to do 25 pounds one day thinking I was a badass, and right when I got out to here and I was coming back, it just kind of was like, oh man, shouldn't have done 25. So, with that being said, that is my punching tutorial. Hope you liked it.